Caught me doing my makeup. Always primping and preening myself. But thank you for joining us in Cryptic Corner tonight, where we enjoy a little bit of the spooky side. This is the place where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, and the paranormal and hidden. The mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. So welcome to Cryptic Corner, and thank you so much for dropping in tonight. You are watching this alongside my live from the Hive audience. Oh, this way, as you can see over here, all a wonderful AM crew watching this live as we record it. You can watch this live too if you want to tune in tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. We will be doing live from the Hive as always. But thank you so much for popping in, and let's get started. So when it comes to cryptozoology, I put two posts up, and anything that falls in between there I consider cryptozoology. Okay, now on one side we'll have animals that have been recently extinct, like the thylacine, the Tasmanian wolf, that we know existed, that we knew were animals, that we could explore and understand, that we could put under a microscope, right? That we even have once living samples of these animals. So eventually we may even be able to bring them back. They're very real. The other end, you go through all the middle of the road. Right in the middle, you got Bigfoot and Nessie, the two big dogs, right? And then on the far end, you start to get into some weird things that might be cryptozoological, but they might be like paranormal or supernatural too. Down on this end, we have Mothman, and we have there's certain demonic entities like the Goat Man and things like that that don't seem to be actual physical beings, at least not consistently physical beings. And then on the far end of this is today's little guest. Now, I don't know if any of you all have heard of this or not. This is a really weird creature, but I'll let this guy give us a quick breakdown of it. Actually, I'm going to have a couple of people give us a quick breakdown. The first one, though, is just going to be for fun. So let me see here. And we're going to get him pulled up here. This is, why is it still saying that? Yeah, here we go. There we go. I'm going to refresh it, though, so it starts from the very beginning. I had to unmute him.
I just learned about Jeff the Talking Mongoose, a legendary creature that the Irving family claimed lived with them on the Isle of Man. The family said the mongoose lived within their walls and spoke to them, and people came from miles around to see the thing firsthand. And though they never found much proof, despite a lengthy search for clues, scientists, reporters, and the like all tried their best. And through it all, young Bori Irving still claimed that the thing was serving as their rodent guardian and maintained it till her death. She said he'd say where all could hear it, I am an earthbound spirit. And then he'd say these words I'd be remembered by. He'd say, I am a freak, I have hands and I have feet, and if you saw me you'd faint, you'd be petrified.
So, Jeff the Talking Mongoose is who we're talking about today, if you didn't pick up on that. Yeah, that's a great, I love that guitar guy. He's the bee's knees. So go check him out too. My friend, Andy Hall, when he used to do his morning show, would actually, feature him doing songs and stuff from time to time. So I decided to let our old friend Shrouded Hands, who also told us about the Stand Down Clown, tell us about Jeff the Talking Mongoose, and then we're going to explore the lore of it, okay? So buckle in. It's going to be a bumpy mongoose-filled ride, and we get to visit our old friend Harry Price while we're in here too.
Hello everybody, Shrouded Hand here. Poltergeist cases have always fascinated me. They straddle that line between unexplainable mystery and obvious hoax in a way that makes them extremely compelling to unpack. One of the strangest cases I've heard of bears all the hallmarks of a classic poltergeist haunting, but with one additional feature. The entity appeared in the form of a talking mongoose.
I do like the Shrouded Hands logo too.
The tale of the talking mongoose began in 1930. The Irving family, consisting of husband and wife James and Margaret, and a 13-year-old daughter Voiri.
Now this is a picture of her as an adult, though, not as a child. But this, as you will see, goes on for months for years and years. Well, months, yeah, but dozens of months. All right. We can bring back the Tasmanian wolf. I hope so. A lot of there's a fetus preserved, but it's in a jar with like alcohol and stuff. So I don't know how much is preservable there. But there are definitely DNA samples of thylacine that we may be able to bring them back. Bringing back Jeff the Talking Mongoose, though, that might be a little bit more of a feat as we come to find out in the length of this video.
I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. I've only ever seen it written down.
It's Voiri, yeah.
They lived in a remote farmhouse on the Isle of Man. The house had no electricity, no running water or phone line, and their nearest neighbour was over a mile away. One night, the family heard a faint scratching, scuffling sound coming from within the walls of the house. It was accompanied by strange growling and spitting noises, described by the Irvings as changing between the sound of a dog, a ferret, and a human baby. Assuming they had a rat in the house, Jim Irving set down some traps and poison to try and kill it, but to no avail. In desperation, he tried growling loudly through a...
Right. Yeah, they say, I'm just set the creep tone, yes. When it comes to the mongoose, though, you could retell this story with a different tone, I think, and make it so it's not bad. You could make it almost like a Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of storyline. You really could, with Jeff being Quasimodo.
Crack in the wall to try and scare it away. But to his surprise, instead of scampering, the creature simply repeated the growl back to him. Amazed by this feat of imitation, they decided to see what other sounds it could copy. They began making various bird calls and animal noises, and they found it would imitate them perfectly. Within days, all they had to do was shout out the name of an animal, and
This is about the invention of the echo too. Just so you know that, like, this is a story of how echoes were invented. No, I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me at this point in the story. If you make a sound into the wall, you hear it back. It sounds like an echo. Like it was maybe I don't know, that there was I don't want to say there's a cave or something that was underneath their house, but some area that maybe echoed the sound back. A ferret would make more sense than a mongoose, because mongooses like Africa and India, so like the Africa and India, the subcontinent, whereas ferrets fill that niche in the northern Europe and Asia. Well, in all of Europe and Asia, mongoose don't, ferrets do. It's like a one or the other kind of situation. It's like wolves and hyenas, mongoose or ferret. You get a choice. Or I shouldn't say just ferret, mongoose or weasel, because there's other weasels that fill that niche too, besides just ferrets. In the UK, though, ferrets would definitely be the thing that would come to mind over mongoose.
Creature in the walls would imitate these sounds with great accuracy. Voiri then tried to teach it nursery rhymes.
Oh my gosh, Tim, you're a freaking genius. The whole time I've been watching this, trying to figure out what it could have been. What if there was a raven that stood on their chimney or something and shouted down the responses? I didn't even think about that.
To their amazement, it was able to produce human speech and repeat the rhymes back to her. By 1932, the creature had become a fluent English speaker.
There's my fiance in the side chat now. Hey, baby. When I came back from Maya's last night, you'd gone. I had to go do my premiere and all that good stuff last night. We did a nice Pride stream last night. If you missed it, go back and pop through. We had a great panel of people. We had me and Beck and of course Maya. We had HC Spackle. We had Dr. Tapioca Weasel popped in. Jenny Morgan was there. Skylar Fiction came in for a minute. It was a fun time. Now we have, there's actually 3 talking weasels, but I think they have one of those windy boxes that they talk with. I don't think it's like really talking weasels.
Okay. It was able to tell them that it was an Indian mongoose born in Delhi on the 7th of August 1852, and its name...
Yeah, I get to talk for just a second about convergent evolution, right? So, mongooses and weasels. Weasels and mongooses. I just wanted to say that because so carnivore splits in half, right? And on this half you have feliforms, and on this half you have caniforms, and then on those branches in the northern hemisphere, in North America, the caniforms got this early foothold and started building their big boys, their bears and their wolves and their and all that. In the meso predatory niche, you had foxes and smaller caniforms and procyonids, and you also had the weasels, the mustelids, that dominated. While in Africa, you had feliforms really. Africa and then the Indian subcontinent for quite a while. You had feliforms really take hold and start to diversify. It's where you get your big cats and hyenas. And the meso predators, you get a lot less variety, but civets and jinnets and all binturongs and things like that. But in the small predator niche, you have on one side, you have the weasel family, the mustelids, and on this side you have Hesperinid, which are the mongoose. And you have to look really close to tell the difference sometimes, but one of the weird and cool things I like about mongoose as a feliform is that they have goat eyes. So look at these weird goat eyes. This is because they hunt down low to the ground on a horizontal plane, right? So their eyes are almost at ground level, and they keep their head down when they run too. So do mongooses. So do ferrets. That's why ferrets have that like inchworm kind of movement, because they keep their head down because of the way their pupils line up. Now ferrets don't have the goat eyes like this quite so much. Now the reason goats and deer and things have that horizontal pupils because they want to see the horizon. Their pupils aligned with the horizon so that they can see generally like 180 or more degrees. That's why their eyes are generally on the side of their heads too. Goats with front-facing eyes are weird, but you'll notice that a mongoose and other like meerkats and things too, but they have that same function, but their eyes are facing forward. It's because they're hunting things that are low to the ground and right in front of them. So hunting through tunnels and at ground level at night. Yeah, that's what these guys specialize in. That's why they're so good at hunting snakes too, because they get down that level, they can anticipate where that snake's gonna strike and just move right out of the way. And as soon as the snake strikes at the mongoose and it moves out of the way, the mongoose just, because mongooses are a lot faster reflexes than snakes. Anyway, that was my science lesson for this video.
Was Jeff. Word of this amazing talking mongoose spread across the Isle, and eventually it reached mainland Britain. The story was taken up by famous ghost hunter Harry Price, and he sent a colleague to the house to investigate the case.
I actually do like Harry Price a lot. I like learning about him and some of the stuff he debunked. He was like the amazing Randy of his day. He was less skeptical than Randy sometimes, but he debunked a lot more than he was like, about. So, but he brought a lot of this stuff to the mainstream that we wouldn't have known about otherwise. The Borley Rectory, which will have its own episode at some point, and the Enfield Poltergeist are two of the most famous supernatural cases from the UK that I can even think of. And they were both exploded into the scene by Harry Price's investigations.
The investigator spent 5 hours with the family, but he saw and heard no evidence of this mysterious creature. But then as he was walking away from the house, there was a shrill scream from inside. It shouted, "Go away! Who is that man?" followed by a number of unintelligible squeals. He rushed back inside the house, but the voice stopped as soon as he entered. He returned the next day to conduct further investigations. This time he heard the voice, but only when Margaret and Voiry were upstairs, leaving him downstairs alone. He suspected...
Suspicious, right? That's suspicious.
some kind of trickery, and he attempted to sneak up the stairs to see if it was one of the Irvings making the voice. But he tripped up on the stair and made a loud clattering noise, and it caused Jeff to shout out and alert his presence. He attempted repeatedly to communicate with the voice, asking Jeff to show itself, but it would always refuse. Jeff seemed very wary of strangers. It would shout out insults, sometimes threatening them with violence. This would be the pattern for most other investigators. The strange talking animal would attract many paranormal researchers and tabloid journalists, but they always left with inconclusive evidence.
No one ever saw him. Yeah, schoolgirl may have the power of ventriloquism. It's probably more likely.
As with many poltergeist-type hauntings, the activity seemed centered around a teenage member of the family. Many suspected Voirie of faking the voice when people weren't looking. The interior of the Irvings' house was clad with wooden boards, and there was a small gap between the wood and the stone exterior of the house. It was thought that Voirie...
Yeah, you all saw the outside of the house, right? It's solid stone, just built and mortared together and everything. On the inside, it had a wooden panels built around on the inside with a gap about that big running around the whole length of the house, all the way around, with just different boards and stuff, allowing for if a critter did get in there to bound around.
Would speak through a gap in the wooden boards, and the acoustics would carry her voice to other parts of the house, creating an effect as if a voice was coming from within the walls itself. One reporter for the Manchester Daily Dispatch wrote, "Yesterday I heard several spoken sentences. The conversation was between the weasel voice and Mrs. Irving, who was unseen to me in another room, while the girl sat motionless in a chair at the table. I could see her reflection, although not very clearly, in a mirror on the other side of the room. She had her fingers to her lips. The lips did not move as far as I could see, but they were partly hidden by her fingers. When I edged my way into the room, the voice ceased. The little girl continued to sit motionless without taking any notice of us. She was sucking a piece of string, I now saw." Along with her disembodied voice, Jeff was also capable of other poltergeist-like phenomena. Coins would be mysteriously thrown at visitors' heads, and furniture would be moved around.
So that's something I actually learned about when I was hosting the perspective with the Friendly Neighborhood Atheist. I was taught about coin drops, which apparently is throwing coins at people and making coins mysteriously appear is kind of a normal poltergeist activity that I was not aware of. Coins specifically, where they come from and where, whose money they're stealing, we don't know.
Round by an unseen force. Jeff would demand certain foodstuffs, such as bacon and bananas, as well as a saucer of milk. These would be placed high up on a ceiling rafter, and they would vanish when nobody was looking. The case of the talking mongoose bears many similarities to another poltergeist case that happened in the 1970s called the Enfield haunting. I covered this in more detail in another video, but...
And we will cover that on Cryptic Corner as well, don't worry. We will get... we'll start cracking open some different poltergeist cases. I'll probably cover it with a small batch of poltergeist cases soon, but not so quickly after we just covered telekinesis, because if you all didn't catch that, I had a really good time practicing telekinesis and trying to bend spoons with the telekinesis guru.
I'll briefly go over it again here. In the Enfield haunting, a family were plagued by classic poltergeist activity. Objects were thrown around the house by an unseen force, furniture would move, doors would slam. The activity focused on one of the teenage girls in the house, who would periodically be possessed by the entity and produced a deep guttural voice.
Well, perhaps you've got something to say to them.
Yeah. I'd like to know how you make this noise without bashing Janet's vocal cords to pieces. If I do it for half a minute, I get a sore throat.
There's choices here.
I'm using the Enfield case.
Yeah,
You can do that too. It doesn't mash my voice up.
no, you're not going to bash anybody's vocal cords up.
You don't have to mess with your voice cords.
It's more in the back of your throat than in anything. Not going to give you a sore throat.
Case because it was very well documented and gives a good example of the sort of contradictions involved in solving a poltergeist case.
Yeah, exactly, Jason.
Where do I?
saucer of milk. So I don't doubt that they could add critters in their walls. The walls sound like that they'd be a great place for critters to live. I'm wondering if maybe this wasn't a combination of this girl keeping or feeding critters in the walls, or it could have even been a mongoose in the wall, and then doing ventriloquist to make it talk too. But yeah. Anyway, the girl's totally not jumping. We will cover the Enfield poltergeist, Tubi, and don't you worry if that's something you're interested in, a poltergeist activity in general. We're gonna have a whole section on it. We'll also cover the more on telekinesis I want to do, and also people doing hydrokinesis and stuff. I found a few channels that are hilarious. People doing that kind of stuff, and we'll talk about the experiments that were done by the U.S. government into the fields of telekinesis and parapsychology as well. We're going to get to it all, but yeah, it's a big old iceberg to chip away at.
The most obvious explanation would be that the girl was simply faking the voice and throwing things around where nobody was looking. In fact, a hidden tape recorder captured the girl colluding with her sister to fake some of the evidence for the paranormal investigator. The voice would often give false and childish information, and a lot of the poltergeist activity would only happen when the girls were left alone in the room. On the other hand, sometimes the voice would give facts about deceased people that the girls would have no knowledge of, and there were
Rick, when I lived, I didn't live. I kind of did because I stayed overnight there. I worked in a home for the developmentally disabled, and I was one of the night caretakers while I was going to school. So, I would work overnight, and one of the guys that we took care of could do that. He couldn't verbally communicate. He was nonverbal, and he made sounds. And he could make his voice into 3 different voices. And one of my coworkers, this big burly guy named JB, like big guy, but he's 6'2", 230 pounds, really big boy, which we needed on the staff to help move around these older people. But he was terrified of this patient. Wouldn't go into his room because he was insistent that there was something more to that ability to do that with his voice than was humanly possible. He confided to me that he believed that the patient was demonically possessed. It was really kind of sad and kind of weird too. Religion does weird stuff to people's brains.
Witness accounts, including from police officers, that say they witnessed furniture moving and thrown objects with no possible interference from any of the family members.
It came off the floor, or nearly a half inch, I should say. And I saw it slide off to the right, about 3.5 to 4 feet before it came to rest. I checked to see whether or not it could possibly have slid along the floor. I placed a marble on the floor to see whether or not the marble would go in the same direction as the chair did, and it didn't roll at all. I checked for wires under the cushion of the chair, and I could find no explanation at all.
And that's the thing with poltergeists. They're known as trickster spirits. They will impersonate people, give false information, and generally sow an atmosphere of confusion around their existence. Perhaps it benefits a poltergeist to terrorise a family, but then lead investigators to believe a hoax has been perpetrated.
Or is it more likely that a hoax is being perpetrated with the same methodologies that are been tried and true for generations to trick people into thinking that there's a poltergeist, including wire work and acoustics and things of that nature?
Jeff the Talking Mongoose bears all the markings of a classic poltergeist case, but it also bears the hallmarks of a bored teenager looking to escape the drudgery of life in an isolated farmhouse.
Strangles
so
rabbits.
So is there
for
any
them.
evidence that Jeff was anything apart from an elaborate hoax? Well, some investigators visited the house in the hope of debunking the case and went away convinced it was real. There are reports of stones being thrown at the outside of the house, despite everyone being inside at the time. Jeff would also describe things that were in visitors' bags or envelopes, which the Irvings would have no knowledge about.
Well, potentially have no knowledge about, right? I mean, you bring a bag into someone's house and you're there doing an investigation and busy and distracted by things around the house. It sure would be easy for someone to find out what's inside your bag.
Apparently you could read newspaper headlines in the dark and would be able to hear people whispering quietly from the other side of the house. There's also the
But they already talked about the acoustics of the house, right? With the hollows in the walls. I don't know. I want to make sure that I sound like a skeptic and not a cynic. But, you know, when you spend as much time looking into this stuff as I do for you guys, and because I love it too. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, I just do it because you guys and I hate doing it. No, I love that you guys come to listen to me talk about this crap. But you get kind of cynical about some of the same old tried and true hoaxing methods. Now, when this came out, I want to stress this because this is important. When this came out, these were not, you know, oh, same old. As you, like the Enfield haunting they just talked about, that was in the 70s. So this is in the 30s. This is, you know, 30 years before that. So this was not like tried and true tropes. These were new things to these people at this time.
The question of why they would invent this hoax and keep it going for so long. Some reporters may have offered financial rewards for a scoop on the story, but they maintained the story long after tabloid interest had died down. And they kept it up for so long that they fell into disrepute with the local people. They were unable to sell their house for a profit because people believed it was haunted. In any case, of all the wild stories to invent, why would they think up a talking mongoose? There's an article about Jeff written 30 years after the events, and it contains an interview with Eerie. I'll link it in the description so you can have a read, but you can see even 30 years later, she was
I was shy, I still am, she said. He made me meet people I didn't want to meet. Then they said I was mental or a ventriloquist. Believe me, if I was that good, I would be jolly well be making money from it by now. Well, I don't know if it was her skill that would have put it over the top, or if it was the house, the acoustics of the residence that caused such sounds to be able to be heard in such a way. But she stuck with this story.
Still adamant that Jeff was completely real. She died in 2005, but all through her life she still kept up with the story, so if it was fiction, she was extremely dedicated to it. So if Jeff did exist, what could he have been? A ghost or demonic entity seems the most likely explanation. In fact, Jeff often described himself as a ghost in the form of a mongoose.
So for some reason, when they talk about the death of Eerie in 2005, it really puts this into perspective for me about, you know, how things have changed since the beginning. Because she went through, like, she originated this sort of, I'm going to be as nice as possible, this proposed hoax, which is the explanation that I lean towards, that she was a bored teenager with lots of time to practice throwing her voice inside this wooden box that was with a stone out exterior that would make sure the sound reverberated all around, and that she had plenty of time out there, no electricity, not even any running water, just her and her parents in this little tiny house, right? To practice that, and for her to live long enough to see how other people had kind of taken the groundwork that she laid and did different things, other hoaxers and things through the ages. There's been a lot of hoaxes that are known and busted, and again, we'll get into a lot of these, but she kind of laid the groundwork for it. I do like this image of Jeff here, though, I gotta say.
Or a creature from the fifth dimension. But the family always maintained that he was a real physical animal, one that would eat food and urinate through cracks in the wall. Earlier in life, Jim Irving...
That's why I think she had like a pet living in the walls of some kind. I don't know if it was a mongoose or not.
Brought a cage of mongooses to the island and released them on a farmstead.
Let me restart that.
But the family always maintained that he was a real physical animal, one that would eat food and urinate through cracks in the wall. Earlier in life, Jim Irving had brought a cage of mongooses to the island and released them on the farmstead to try and control the rabbit population. So we know there were mongooses there at one point in time. There's also...
So the dad literally brought the mongooses to the island, right? They just said that. He brought mongooses to the island.
There's been a recent study that claims that mongooses are capable of producing complex vowel strings, something only humans were thought capable of. So maybe a mongoose could be taught to imitate human speech, but the idea of one being capable of intelligent conversation seems a little far-fetched to me. Unfortunately, as far as I can tell, there weren't any recordings of Jeff's voice, or if they were made, I've never heard any. But there were a few other specimens of evidence gathered. One was a number of paw and teeth marks that Jeff agreed to make in clay when nobody was looking. These were analysed by experts who concluded that they were not of any known animal. They were probably fakes, and the prints were all different sizes, so either the family had faked them or...
Yeah, that looks like a handprint. There's different paw prints there. Yeah, these are all looking... I guess these are centimeters. So they're very small. Like this paw and that paw could not all come from the same creature. You can... Well, I mean, it could have had some kind of weird deformity, I guess. Mongoose Glory Hole Paradise. Oh my. Yeah, that sounds like a more adult version of the story. We'll have to recast some of the characters for that version.
Jeff had completely different sized paws. And looking at them, they do look pretty fake. They look like someone's just stuck their fingers in clay.
Can the porn version of Harry Price be called Horny Price, though? Yeah, we'll create a porn series called the Investigations of Horny Price, and he'll have Poltergeist.
To make a paw print. Jeff also provided the family with a sample of its fur, which again was analysed by experts. The analysis suggested that the hair had most probably come from a dog. They later analysed a sample of fur taken from the Irving's dog and concluded that both samples had come from the same animal. This could be...
Yeah, so... photo micrograph of fine hair of Jeff's undercoat, and a photometric photo micrograph of fine hair of undercoat of red setter, magnified hair from the second sample, talking mongoose, hair from collie dog Mona. So they had their pet dog too.
The nail in the coffin for Jeff's existence. It seems to point to a hoax, but then again it could be more evidence of a mischievous spirit playing tricks. Who knows, maybe Jeff just made some fake paw prints and took a fur sample from the dog to try and confuse people even more. I'll leave that up to you to decide. There are also some photographs of Jeff. One investigator wanted to get a picture of the talking mongoose, but the creature refused to show itself, saying it would only appear to Voiry. An agreement was made, and they left Voiry with a camera. Once the investigators had left, Jeff would show himself and Voiry would take the pictures of him. Once again, this evidence is highly...
Alright. Now that does look like a mongoose, though. Like, here's the head and the body behind the post. But it doesn't have, like... I can't see any face or anything. It almost looks like a stuffed animal version of a mongoose, or somebody trying to make a stuffed animal mongoose.
Suspect. The pictures are blurry and hard to make out. Many have claimed that this is just a picture of a fur collar placed on a fence post. There is one photo that puzzled me. I've seen it in various books, listed as James Irving pointing to Jeff's hands emerging from behind a beam. It doesn't seem to be part of the photo set that Voiry took. It looks a bit more professional. So what puzzled me is, if there was a third party present here when they took the photo, wouldn't there be some sort of reports that they witnessed a strange pair of hands coming out of the wall? Surely seeing something like this would be conclusive proof that there really was something living in the walls of the house. I found a guy online called Christopher Joseph.
As a library cataloger, he came across the archive and library of psychic detective Harry Price 7 years ago. Intrigued by references to the Talking Mongoose case, he began to examine the relevant archival material at the University of London and the Society for Psychical Research's Jeff file, held at Cambridge University Library. He has visited the Isle of Man where the strange affair took place, inspecting sites of interest and speaking with locals about the case.
Again, I'm not sure of the pronunciation of that name, so forgive me if it's wrong. Anyway, he's written a book called Jeff, The Strange Tale of an Extra Special Talking Mongoose. And according to his website, he spent 7 years researching the case. If anyone would know the story behind this photo, it would be him. So I dropped him an email to ask about it, and this is the response I got. I believe this photo was staged, in the sense that it was intended to recreate an incident, to show what the Irvings had seen of Jeff on the rare occasions when he was visible to them. It also shows the outlandishly large size hands that Jeff was said to have. These white hands, which look like cotton wool or something similar to me, were placed there, I think by Voiri. The caption on the back of the photo
like
is
gloves.
How Jeff Showed His Fingers, and it was written by Nandor Fodor, who took the staged photo when he was staying at Dawlish Cashin in 1937. He wrote elsewhere.
Nandor Fodor is like a freaking awesome name. That's I guess maybe that's because I like what we do in the shadows, Nandor, and then Fodor is obviously from my arguments with Danny, Jerry Fodor.
Where that the fingers came through the slit in Voiri's room, and that the fingers are yellow and very hard and cold to the touch. This must have been something that one or more of the family had told him, because during the week he stayed there, Jeff made no appearance whatsoever, much to Fodor's disappointment. The room in the photo is almost certainly Jim and Margaret's bedroom. Their daughter Voiri's bedroom was on the other side of the partition. Looking again at the photo, I now wonder whether the fingers are Voiri's, although they do look rather big and fat. One of the most outlandish details of Jeff's described appearance was the outsized hands compared to the rest of his body.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a regular mongoose with giant hands. That's super weird.
Which was, the Irving said, around 6 inches, plus a 6-inch tail. Jim Irving wrote in one of his many letters, "The hand came through for a sufficiently long time for all of us to see. So far as I can tell, I saw 3 fingers on each hand, light yellow. They had nails on them." So that clears that up a bit, and it gives us a little idea of the atmosphere in the Irving's home at the time. The paranormal researcher frustrated when Jeff refused to appear, the family eager to prove his existence, but both parties having to resort to mere recreations of the events. The description of Jeff's fingers being cold and hard to the touch is an interesting detail. Possibly it could be more evidence that Voiri was playing a trick. The description sounds something like mannequin hands, and definitely nothing like a mongoose's furry paws. Anyway, thanks to Christopher Joseph for the extra information. I'll put a link to his website in the description for helping me out. His book looks like it's got loads more details in it than I was able to research online, so it'll be an interesting read.
If you're interested in following up with this would probably be a good book to start with, I think. The guy did 7 years of research on it before he wrote it, so,
Eventually, for the family, their tabloid interest died down, and Jeff's visits to the family became less and less frequent over time. In 1945, the house was sold to a man called Leslie Graham. In 1946, Leslie announced to the press that he had shot and killed a strange creature on his property. The creature was described as being neither a stoat, ferret, or mongoose. It had black and white fur, and its skin was extremely thick, suggesting it was incredibly old. There was apparently a photo of this creature in the papers, but I can't find it online, so we'll have to use our imagination.
I eventually found the picture in the newspaper article, yeah. And it looks like, what it looks like to me is a pine marten, but
Voiri.
Or is pine marten, is that the right? Hold on, let me make sure I'm giving you the right one. The Tarza. No. Tarsa? Tarsa? Maybe? Let me see. Pine marten. I want to show you all a picture of it. European pine marten. The yellow-throated, yeah, I think that's the right one. Yellow-throated pine marten. Yellow-throated pine marten are really cool looking. And also super vicious. And they do kind of look like a mongoose superficially. So let me pull one up and show it to you guys here. This video is over. Thank you, Shrouded Hands. Yeah, here we go. Well, I mean, I guess the video's got a couple more minutes left. I'll go back and watch it in a second, but I wanted to show you guys the marten first. All right. So, this is the tarsa. They are way bigger than a mongoose, and they're capable of taking down deer. And they have a yellow hue to their fur. Now, the range of the tarsa is not typical to Europeans. So if someone did release a tarsa onto that island, it would probably, yellow mongoose would probably be something they could easily mistake that for. But these guys are much bigger. And if they lived inside your walls, you would know it. But my theory, my pet theory, how much longer is this guy? Just a minute longer. My pet theory is that that Jeff was maybe one of the mongooses that Jim did release onto the island that lived inside their walls, and that Voiri was giving the mongoose a voice and personality to entertain herself, and it took hold.
He later said that this couldn't have been Jeff, as the fur was the wrong colour and the body was far too large. What this creature was is still not known. To me, from the description, it sounds like a badger, but surely someone would have identified it as that at the time. I guess it just remains another one of those unexplained mysteries that seem to attach themselves to this case. Whether or not Jeff was real or a hoax, I'll leave you to make your own mind up. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. There's loads more information to look into if this case interests you. It's so complicated and there's so many weird details. If I tried to cover everything in this video, it would be hours long. But hopefully I've done enough to interest you and covered most of the most important details of the case. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the subscribe star page and become a patron. And remember to subscribe, or else I'm going to send a talking weasel to live in the walls of your house and eat bananas. Until next time, goodbye.
Alright, and I also wanted to, let's give the sound of a mongoose a listen. You want to see what they actually sound like? Now, imagine you're living out, your dad released a whole bunch of mongooses into the house. Your house has this crazy acoustics, and the mongooses are, for months and months, the mongoose, there's clearly a mongoose living in the walls, right? Eating rats or whatever, that's fine, and rabbits. But it's making these sounds at night, and it's echoing through this weird acoustics in the house. And the kid hears that for months and months, and maybe starts talking to it. Maybe starts talking in a sweet little voice to it, because it's a mongoose, and it's cute, right? And then the parents hear the voice mixing in with the animal sounds, and the kid's like, huh, I can trick my parents into thinking that there's a talking mongoose in the walls. Hey Neil, we're listening to mongoose sounds. You missed Jeff the talking mongoose. It's ghost lore, but I decided I wanted to let everybody hear what mongoose actually sound like, because they do make some unique sounds. So that does sound, could be inferred as words. Yeah. Ferrets make a sound kind of like that when they get excited. The laugh part is pretty cute. That sounds kind of like a bird. Yep, he just said, my name is Jeff. Anyway, that's enough mongoose sounds. If you want more mongoose sounds, though, they are available at this page, which is Nature Sounds. 6,000 viewers, so you can hear mongoose and so much more over here. But yeah, let's see. So that was Shrouded Hands. Second time visiting them. They told us about the Sandown Clown last time, so pretty cool pretty cool YouTube channel. Covers some of the stuff. They're they're less skeptical than me, but they're more skeptical enough that I can listen to what they have to say. And then Nature Sounds for the Talking Mongoose. What else do we have here? Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, well, this was just the cryptic wiki, or cryptid wiki thing. Yeah. All right, so that was Cryptic Corner with once more Jeff the Talking Mongoose. Thank you so much. Yeah, and you guys got to see me dance. I get all dancy and jiggly when I hear a song I like. Thank you for sticking around for Cryptic Corner tonight. This was a fun episode. This is one of my favorite topics, Jeff the Talking Mongoose. I will see most of you all in the morning, I'm sure, for Light from the Hive tomorrow morning, Saturday, at 11:30 a.m. All right. Thank you so much. And please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. I'm going to end this on another song because this is a short song too. So here we go. It's called Eighth Wonder of the World.